Hello, I'm Robert Murphy from Holistic Healing Choices, and today we're going to talk about the earth element as far as the 5-element traditional Chinese medicine cycle. This is the final one of our videos in this, and it's been a long time coming. Now, the earth is the protector, the nurturer, the sympathizer, the worrier, as in worrying about things. These are the people who nurture. They give so much of themselves to everything. They make sure everything is supplied in the way it needs. And that can be represented by how we normally have the 5 elements in a circle. There are older teachings that have the earth in the middle because it hides the metal. It supports the wood. The fire nourishes it, yes, but it also supports the fire being on it, and it holds the water. So the earth is really, really important, which is probably why we made it the last one. Denoted by its yellow colour, and this is the only yellow shirt I have, so bear with me on this one. So let's crack straight into the earth. Organs. Now the earth organs are the yang organ being the stomach, and the yin organ being the spleen. The stomach is a digester, so it takes the information in, being food or literal information in, and digests. So breaks it down, organises it, and passes it on. Now that can be in a metaphysical sense. Any information, any trauma, any incident that happens. Taking it in, processing it, breaking it down into manageable bits. What happens when we come up against this is it can literally cause us a stomach ache, or we have trouble digesting that information, or literally that food, which causes us great concern there. And the stomach takes in those new ideas and breaks them down. I mean, it also helps us organise the good parts of life, or the good parts of the food, and starts to take those out, as well as starts to organise the waste, the things that we want to get rid of. The yin organ, being the spleen, is charged with moving the qi as well as fluids around the body. Now, I mean, this can help with moving everything else around the body as well. It takes these new ideas, this information, and transforms it into something usable. So this is where we start to identify what's useful and what's toxic in our systems and distribute them accordingly. Spleen also functions in helping our immune system, purifying the blood, increasing the power of the white blood cells, and the removal of damaged or dead red cells. And it can help metabolize emotion. Sympathy is the emotion of the earth. Now what this means is that they can over-sympathize when they're out of balance. They give so much of themselves that they leave nothing for themselves, and they often feel quite drained when they're out of balance. The opposite of that, of course, is that they have no sympathy. So they're a hard-ass task master. But more often than not, sees them giving out so much. And then they get upset when they receive nothing back. It's like they give out 3 bags of love and receive 1 back. And they wonder why, but they can't help themselves but to help and give others. And then yes, when they become out of balance, once again, the other way, they become selfish, narcissistic, and self-focused. So, who cares what you're going through, I'm going through it worse. Sort of mentality. Sound. Singing is the sound of the earth. These people have the widest variation in their voice. So normally, when they're in tune with themselves, they sound like they're singing. It's really distinct and really easy to pick up when you're with that person, because it naturally sounds as though they're singing. It's a weird thing to try and explain, but they just speak as though they're singing, and they have that variation in the voice. Picture a mother who's sympathising with their child who's just fallen over, like, oh, you poor thing, and you sort of get that image of what their voice would sound like, that sympathy coming through in their voice. Sense. Taste is the sense of the earth. just in the way that a baby tastes its mother's milk as the first thing that it ever has. It nurtures, it nourishes, and it also provides us a little bit of protection there with what we're nurturing and nourishing ourselves with. In the fact of when you taste something, depending on the taste, you can tell right then and there, maybe, whether it's going to be good or bad for you. And in a way that it relates to all the other elements, if you crave that taste of something, it shows that you might have an imbalance in that element itself. So sweet being for the earth, salty being for water, sour being for wood, bitter for fire, and that pungent or savoury sort of thing for metal. So in that way, once again, the earth relates back to all of those elements, nurturing and nourishing them. The taste relates back to the stomach. The stomach calls for that food, that information to come through. We taste it. Then and there we decide whether it's going to be good for us or not. Odour. The odour of the earth is fragrant. Now it is a very, very subtle sort of smell they give off, and it can be somewhat sweet when the person is in balance. So the name of it can be pretty misleading because it's not like, fresh cut roses or honeysuckle or flowers or anything like that. It tends to lend itself, when the person's out of balance, into that smell that's overly sweet, almost sickly. And I don't know if you've ever smelt or been into a brewery, but that fermenting grain sort of smell when the person's really out of balance. Or even like baby's vomit. Personality traits. The earth is the worrier. They worry constantly, whether you got their say. And they normally worry about other people. As giving that sympathy out once again, they can become suspicious of other people, thinking that somewhat they're hard done by sometimes when they're out of balance. They think everybody's out to get them because they're giving out so much, but they're not receiving or not perceiving to be receiving as much back. And so they can take little comments way out of proportion when they're out of balance. When they're in balance, they are giving and receiving in a constant sort of flow, in a very well controlled sort of manner. And I mean, the earth person can always go out of their way to give time to other people. So my mum, for instance, is an earth person, and she is constantly putting herself last, working later hours, seeing more clients, even working holidays, just because she feels as though she's letting people down if she doesn't do it, which is a typical earth person. And think of a nurse. Nurses are great examples of earth people. They give and give and give at their own expense at long hours, and then at the end of the day they're a bit drained, so they need to find that way to recharge themselves. Gifts of the earth. Stability. Stability is a big one for the earth. Just like the ground itself, it's normally nice and stable. They provide stability for other people. They provide regular meal times, regular sleeping hours. They love the stability of that, and they aim to provide that for everybody. So if you've ever got a problem, you can look to the earth to provide a bit of stability for you, whether they'll give you the shirt off their own back, a room to rent, or just stay in, anything like that. So they want to provide that stability, as well as wanting and needing that stability themselves. Giving and receiving. Much like we've already talked about, the earth is a giver. When they're in balance, they can also receive though, which you don't see very often, but they can give and receive in a constant flow of love and energy and healing and everything. When they're in balance, they give as much as they get, and it's very, very fulfilling for them to give, because they love to be of service. And then to get, they feel special, they feel honoured. They're getting the sympathy and empathy that they give out. So if you know an earth, if you just take, you're going to throw them out of balance. So make sure that you give back to that earth person. Nourishment. The earth is normally a mother figure. So for instance, my mum being an earth, she has nourished me all the way through life, up until this point, and continues to as well, whether it's providing a treatment, cooking a meal, providing lunch, anything. So I grow up big, healthy and strong, but it's more so she'll do that for someone else as well if they need it. Earth people are great, so nurses, once again, giving, receiving everything that person needs, washing them, cleaning them, clothing them, making sure they're as happy and healthy as can be until they're back on their feet and able to fend for themselves. And most Earth people will give until that other person is satisfied. Empathy. Now, just like sympathy, that empathy that they give. The Earth is a very deep, caring person. Their well of emotion to be able to give you is huge. Cuddles, affection, anything that you need. If you hurt yourself, your mother is there giving you what you need, if you've had a good mother. And the empathy runs deeper than sympathy because it includes an understanding, almost instinctually, of how that other person's feeling. It's not just, oh, they're there. It's, oh, I have that understanding of how you're feeling, what you're going through. And the Earth is able to provide that instantly. And leading on to that, the next one, connection. The Earth is great at connecting, making those connections with people, being able to provide or know or have some idea at least of what that person needs. It is more or less like speaking to your own mum with those people. So once again, nurses, they're able to make that connection with the patient and nurture them, nourish them, so have you. And the last gift, altruism. Altruism can be described as the ultimate form of giving. It's giving from that selfless place. It's giving all of you to that person at that one time, but not wanting to receive anything back, not wanting the praise, not doing it to stroke your own ego or anything like that. The Earth person is giving. That is the best way to describe them. They give that sympathy, that empathy, that they want to see you back on your feet. It satisfies them. Not in an egotistical way, like, look how good I am at raising kids, helping patients. A true Earth person gives selflessly, without ego, without anything. It satisfies them to see things going the way they should, and that sometimes it comes at their own sacrifice. So that is where they come unstuck. As we've talked about before, they give so much of themselves. So if you know an Earth person, you may have to tell them to stop or to back off or to look after themselves. But anyway guys, that's it for this video. Do you know an Earth person? Are you an Earth person? I'm Robert Murphy, and if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.